The movie Noah is based on the biblical flood story in the Old Testament book of Genesis. It's a pretty famous story, and overall the flood myth has become sort of an archetype. This motif is seen as cleansing of humanity in preparation for a rebirth which is necessary due to the moral corruption of man. This is especially true in Bible as it states in Genesis 6:5-7. The Lord saw how utterly wicked people on earth has become. Every thought was only evil all the time. So God said, I will destroy from the earth the people I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creeping things. However, Darren's Noah takes certain liberties and brings out very interesting philosophical aspects about human nature, the psychology of good and evil. Darren himself has called his film the least biblical film ever made.
When I said the least biblical film, what I was saying was that we were reinventing the biblical epic.
The character of Noah is played by Russell Crowe, who is last in the line of the descendants of Seth, who, like his martyr brother Abel, was a moral person free from avarice and jealousy. Cain, on the other hand, symbolizes every vice that leads to greediness. In the movie, this is represented through the character of Tubal-Cain, the movie's lead villain, and his presence is important to the narrative as there had to be someone who could harbor the traits antithetical to that of Noah's. The followers of Tubal-Cain are depraved, and their ways have led to the deterioration of earth. Noah, on the other hand, believes in an eco-friendly approach, which is content in what earth provides. As he says to his son in the beginning,
we're going to collect what we can use, what we need.
He is the image of the righteous man, who passes every test and is free from resentment. He treats other beings just as important as man, while Tubal-Cain thinks man has every right to dominate and rule earth as he was created in the image of God. The Watchers are the fallen angels, and they are the stone giants that in their perfect form were luminous divine beings, but their desire to help Adam after the fall has encased them in rocks. The rocks are sort of bounds or limitations on their divinity. These Watchers decide to help Noah as they see glimmers of Adam in Noah. The story begins to roll with the vision of Noah, which shows him that there will be a cataclysmic event unlike the Bible. Noah requires help from his grandfather Methuselah in arriving to a correct interpretation of his dream. As we have seen in the motif of the flood, the water is supposed to cleanse, and if there were to be complete destruction, it must occur through fire. And so the imagery of water helps Noah to decode the divine prophecy. Death by water means new life. The task of building a ship too is shown through the vision. This time the vision is induced by Methuselah's hallucinogenic drink. Water will separate foul from the pure, the wicked from the noble-hearted. This gives Noah a clear idea on which aspect of creation to be preserved and which to be expunged. This whole criterion is applied whenever a moral position has to be taken. It never becomes clear in the movie what the God really wants from Noah. However, his help is apparent through supernatural interventions like that seed through which an entire forest sprouts to provide the material for the ship. Years go by and the children of Noah grow up. The Watchers help Noah in the building project as this work is part of Creator's plan. It is during this phase when the plot thickens and you realize that this movie has a lot to offer. Tubal-Cain and his followers enter the scene when the building project is in full flow, and when Noah tells Tubal about the Creator's plan and his vision, we get a peek into the mindset of the corrupted. First of all, Creator's apathy over the years have convinced them that man and his will is all there to end this life. When Tubal realizes that he can't just force his way into the ship because of Watcher's protection, he and his followers take refuge in the forest and prepare to fight the giants when the time is right. It is during this part of the movie we get a vivid display of the extent of human barbarity at the time, and it becomes clear as to why the God has forsaken these people. Meanwhile, Noah and his children are having a hard time dealing with their hormones. Shem's girl Elah is a barren woman, and so from the biblical point of view is pretty much useless, while Ham is a horny teenager and he cannot wrap his head around the fact that it is not Creator's job to send him a buddy. While all this is going in the backdrop, Noah has another vision, and things take an interesting turn. Up until now, Noah was convinced that his interpretations of Creator's plan is correct. He knew what is good and what is evil, who belongs to which camp. But now in this vision, he not only sees the barbarity in Tubal-Cain's camp, but also sees himself as a flesh-eating corrupt individual. This shatters Noah's belief in his good nature. He grows awfully gloomy and pessimistic about humanity's future. The line between good and evil is not as clear as it was before. It would seem even if there is goodness, it is built on a tenuous edifice of convenience. People are good as long as time allows them to be. Will Noah's children deserve a place in the new creation, who think with their dicks? Sure, the impure and morally corrupt humans will not be allowed to board, but what of the evil within oneself? Taking the vision and Elah's barrenness as a sign, Noah concludes that his task is similar to that of a midwife, simply to ensure a safe passage for the animals and no plan for procreation of man possible in the new world. Humans must face extinction. After all, everything accords with nature's will. It is only man's insolence that disrupts the order. Noah's wife is appalled with this reasoning, as this new Noah has given into his Sigma nature, and all this talk of goodness and hope sounds to be a feminine nonsense. His mental constitution has strength to accept this reality, while his wife and sons are blinded with the base desires covered in conventional morality. Noah's wife Nama visits the grandfather asking for guidance, but either he was tripping on acid or was fantasizing about berries.
And in all that forest there were no berries.
His response is simply, Noah is the chosen one, he knows the best. Now we see a different Noah. His countenance changes and he's more cold and distant. Another psychological shift takes place in the character of Ham. When Tubal-Cain visits the construction site, he charms Ham with his philosophy. As we will see, in order for Ham to give in to his wickedness, two things have to happen. Number one is sense of being wrong, and number two is belief in his own will over the creator's. He storms out of Noah's camp after his desire for a woman is belittled by his father. He visits Tubal's camp and spots a fine girl. This could solve his woman problem, but soon we see that there is a stampede sort of situation and his prospective partner gets crushed by a rushing horde. On top of that, Noah ignores his cry to save the girl. This, as we will see, is a crushing blow to already fragile psyche of Ham. In a separate plot, the grandfather's obsession for berries leads him into the forest, where he finds Elah and he blesses her by rubbing on her belly, which restores her fertility. But how does she realize that? By saying clearly as if a fog has been lifted, because in biblical science, infertility can cause lack of clarity. This newfound clarity is short-lived because it turns out a horny woman is worse than a barren one. In a fit of arousal, she spots Shem and fucks his brains out. Meanwhile, Tubal-Cain and his army launch an unsuccessful siege. Other than that, everything else goes according to the plan. The complication arises when Noah is informed that Elah is with child. He's confused, and just before he could contemplate the possibility of divine will siding for mankind's prolongment, Jennifer Connelly intervenes because a reduced cup size has led to her cognitive decline. She lets Noah know that it was due to the grandfather's involvement. This makes Noah enraged. He has been working according to the Creator's plan. He has been good, morally kept his depravity in check. Does now the Creator demand the sacrifice of an infant? This goes against every ingrained sense of right and wrong. This ethical dilemma surrounds Noah for 9 long months. If Elah gives birth to a girl, Creator's plan for a perfect world will be ruined. All this work would be pointless. This aspect of the movie opens various deep philosophical problems. Because as we noted in the beginning of the video, unlike the Bible's account, Noah's order are not explicit. We have ambiguity in every decision. He takes on what constitutes good and bad. Is the Creator really omnipotent, all-knowing being? Is he even merciful? Cain's philosophy and modern atheist position seems now more reasonable. It is not a surprise that Ham gives in to Tubal's exhortations, as his position is not completely unfounded in reality. The movie takes us from certainty to uncertainty. At last, when Elah delivers 2 girls, the righteous Noah must keep his promise. Killing infants require one to first slit the throat of his inner child. It's not for the weak-hearted. Interesting thought would be, knowing what Hitler did, can one muster the courage to kill Hitler baby by going back in time? I suppose it will require conviction, but Elah's daughters are innocent from any future evil. A child is born anew, God's dearest. It seems Noah too recognizes this fact if he saw evil. He sees love and goodness in the face of newborn, and he spares their lives. The ending is similar to that of the Bible. They find land and thus begins a new creation. Although one can't help but wonder, what did God truly wanted? What was his plan? Did Noah follow his command by sparing those infants, or he diverged from the plan by succumbing to what seemed initially as weakness? The movie closes the loop by a conversation which occurs between Elah and Noah. When Elah asks him why he lived separate from the family, Noah expresses his failure. He failed both God and damaged his relationship with his family. But Elah's response anticipates the notion of free will in Christian theology. God's creation is not mechanical. He gives man freedom to choose. He showed Noah both wickedness and love. Concentrating on anything extreme is a myopic view. Both are the constituent of this world. Recognizing this and choosing with wisdom is how Christianity solves the problem of evil. The end. Thank you for watching the video till the end. If you did, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, and please do me a favor, click on that like button. Goodbye.